What's up, everybody? It's your boy J-Stogs coming through. Of course, this is Cowboys Cut'n Up. Uh, Listen, this is where Cowboys fans and Cowboys haters get together and get to talk about America's team. I'm telling you, it's been a great week. We're definitely going to talk about the Seahawks game, how that impacts us as far as Cowboys. And, we got to talk about the rivalry that is coming up against those filthy Eagles. That's right. Who got a big drubbing by the San Francisco 49ers. And look, I'm not a 49ers fan. I'm not. I'll be the first to admit that. But I sure as hell was rooting for the Niners that game. Man, what a game it was. But let's back it on up. Let's talk about Cowboys because this is Cowboys Cut'n Up. That this past Thursday, right? We got it easy. Well, I won't say easy. We were able to relax on Sunday because we did play Thursday night game. And I'm gonna tell you what, for all those Cowboys haters out there, and there's a lot of you out there, but let's be real. People love to watch the Cowboys. It's just a fact, right? Because this was the highest rated game, the most watched game on Amazon Prime, period, since they started. And yes, it's a small sample size. We're talking about what, 2, 3 years? Fine. But it is the highest watched game. I believe the number was 15 million or something like that. It's crazy, right? So people love to watch the Cowboys because, again, it is America's team. That's how it gets down, right? But in this 41-35 tug of war, back and forth, listen, going in, this was, can they play against a team that has a winning record? That was the question about the Cowboys. They beat up on the teams that were less than 500. And guess what? They're supposed to. You're supposed to mollywop these guys. Why? Because you are supposed to be in the elite or at least a really good team, right? And that's exactly what they did. Now Dak is in the MVP discussion because of the way he has played. And I'm going to tell you what. I said this, last week and a couple of weeks ago, last time we were on. I have to give kudos to Dak and McCarthy. During the bye, they figured it out. And I would even say, the last Philly game, it was different. It was a different feeling, right? They ran out of time. They couldn't execute, especially at the beginning of the game. They did, and then it just got to a lull. But what I saw out of that team was a team that is ready to make that next step. Now, they got to make the next step. They got to do that. But I think they're really ready to do that. Coming into the game again, the Seahawks, everyone thought it was going to be they were going to be a pushover. There's no way that Walker is out, who is a leading rusher. Geno Smith is, he is what he is, right? He's a journeyman. He's not really up to the standard, and they're just going to beat on him. The offensive line for the Seahawks is supposed to be down. They had injuries across the line. Here's what happened. No one told them that. No one said that, hey, you know what? You're just going to be a pushover because we're looking towards next week. You're filthy. No. They said we're here to play, and that is exactly what they did. Here's some stats for you, right? Now, we talk about Dak Prescott being this guy, right? There's the MVP. Man, he's actually top right now. Vegas odds has him as the top MVP vote getter. Dak Prescott was 29 of 41, 299 yards, 3 touchdowns. Great stats. Great stats, right? Now, that 41, that's a little bit more than what you want to see out of him, but he's doing this thing. I always say no more than about 38 passes. That should be it for Dak. If he goes anywhere over that, that could be a problem. But he came out clean. Look, 3 touchdowns, like I said, 299 yards. Geno Smith, on the other hand, though, again, no Walker. Offensive line is beat up. 23 of 41. He passed for 41 yards. But he had 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Now, Very comparable, actually, same stats. It's the one interception. And this is where Dak has to be better than the other quarterback on the other side. And he's got some real competition coming up in the next 5 weeks. But what this Seahawk game showed that they were able to pull it out at the end, which was very important because that was always the question. Can the Cowboys pull it out when they need to, right? The pullout game. How is their pullout game? Well, this week they were able to do that. This week they were able to go in and play a good game at home. And look, Dallas is 14-0 at home. This kind of goes into the question of, how important is this next game coming up, especially having home field advantage. Right now, because San Francisco mollywopped the Philthy Eagles, Dallas has a chance. The Cowboys have a chance. If the Cowboys beat Philthy this weekend, if they beat them Sunday night, then Dallas has the advantage because they've beaten common opponents that Philthy has not. So against common opponents, Dallas is 4-1 or 5-1, whereas Philthy is 4-2. So there you go, right? They still have a chance to win the division. But even if they don't, we know that they're going to have to go to, NFC South. Listen, I'm not going to say a win is a win, but you know how the NFC South is, right? Atlanta, they can't figure out who their quarterback is. Tampa Bay, their quarterback got hurt, so now they're back with Trask. Okay, right? New Orleans, man, that's such a dumpster fire. Let's be real. Carolina, they're even worse. So coming out of the NFC South, whoever we face, just like we did when it was Tom Brady in Tampa Bay, I have a feeling that we will beat them. Matter of fact, I'm just going to go on record and say we'll beat them. No issues. But that means that we'll have to face either San Francisco or Philadelphia because they will have the bye if we don't win. But I feel like we're going to win. I have every confidence that we will. Let's get back to this the Seahawks game before we get into the Philthy game. So you have DK Metcalf, 134 yards, 3 touchdowns. Here's the issue when you see this stat line, because CeeDee Lamb had 12 receptions, 116 yards, 1 touchdown. That's great. But here's the problem if you're seeing DK Metcalf with 3 touchdowns, 6 receptions on 134 yards. Number one, the penalties have to stop. They've got to be more disciplined. The Cowboys' defense was very undisciplined. Now, I will say this. The calls and the refs, nah, they were horrible. They were very bad. And yeah, you could say it happened on both sides. But, I mean, come on. I mean, it was just like back to back to back to back. Offsides, PI, offsides, PI, PI, PI. How much PI can it happen in one series? Not only that, but when you have safeties that all they want to do is come down and hit, but they don't want to cover, you then have 6 receptions for 134 yards and 3 touchdowns. Big chunk plays, right? Because your safeties aren't doing their job. They got to do their job, cover up top. Because look, DK Metcalf is a specimen. He is. There's no other way to say it. And no, I'm not that way, but I'm telling you, this guy is a specimen, right? You have to be able to box him in on the top and bottom, lower level. Now, that means that you can't just let the other kid who they had, oh my gosh, this guy, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Whoo, nice. His stat line may not prove it out, 7 receptions for 62 yards, but I'm telling you this, the yards that he got, fantastic. They were amazing. Absolutely amazing, right? So you have him who's coming on, and then you have Tyler Lockett, who is a stalwart who's been a stalwart in this league. So if you're seeing that and you're saying, hey, you know what? Who are we going to take away? Who do we want to have beat us? I guarantee you it's not DK Metcalf. Because if he gets the ball in his hands, he's gone. And he proved that he averaged 22 yards per catch, per reception. That's crazy. 22 yards. That means every time he touched the ball, that's at least a first down plus 10, plus 12, actually. Do the math. So you got to be able to lock down these receivers, right? You got to be able to do that. We've talked about the defense being special and being this vaunted defense. And I'm going to tell you what we saw this past Thursday did not say that. We need complementary football. The offense is starting to cook and starting to do their thing. The defense is starting to fail. Now, the question is this. Could it be that because the offense is not having sustainable long drives to help spell the defense? And I've said this before. It's one thing, and I think this is what Kansas City is falling into. If you cannot be able to let your defense rest, then your offense is scoring so fast. The defense is like, hey, we just got off the field. Yeah, I'm happy for the 7 points, but can y'all run it a little bit? Can y'all run it just a little bit? Speaking of running, we talk about Tony Pollard. Everyone wanted Tony Pollard to start. Tony Pollard should start. Tony Pollard should start. Tony Pollard rushed for, what was that? Let's see. Get back over here. He rushed for 68 yards. 20 carries, 68 yards, an average of 3.4 yards per carry. Those look like Zeke numbers. I'm just saying they look like Zeke numbers. But no one's saying, you know what? We need to get Donald in there. Donald needs to play more. Hey, Donald had 5 carries for 15 yards, an average of 3 yards per carry. So, is it really the running game or is it the play calling as well as the line play? Now, the line play has gotten better, so that's what we're saying, right? Because Dak has been able to throw downfield. He's been able to, get the ball where he needs to in a timely manner. Yes, he's getting pressured, but there's got to be something here where we're saying, hey, you know what? The offense has got to be able to run the ball. If this is Texas Coast, that's what they call it, Texas Coast, to emulate the West Coast offense. Well, yes, the pass set up the run, but where's the running? Where's the running? I mean, when you're looking at this and you're saying, hey, you know what? You have a total, and CeeDee Lamb actually was your leading rusher. CeeDee Lamb. 2 carries, 30 yards, averaging 15 yards a carry. He's your leading rusher. That's crazy. He's crazy. And your third leading rusher was Dak Prescott. Now, some of that he did on his own. He wanted to do that. But we've got to find a way to get better at this. There's no way you can have this type of run game. Yeah? We rushed for 136 yards total. Okay, that's great as a team. But individually is what we're looking at. It should be more. It should be way more. If this is the type of team that's touting that we're going to run more, that's what McCarthy said. We're going to run more. We're going to run more. We're going to run more. Where are you running to? Because it's not very far. Not at 3.4 yards per carry. And, you get the franchise tag. I don't know what they're going to do with him. I'm very curious what Trey would say about Pollard going further after this year. Do we franchise tag him or do we part ways and look in the draft to get another running back? I don't know. It's a great question. And, Henry will be out there again. They'll put his name out there. There'll be some other running backs that'll be out there. So we'll see what happens in this offseason. But we've got to get better on that ground attack. The defense has to get better on the penalties. I mean, that's coaching. You know, if you're on the offensive, I'm sorry, if you're on a defensive line, you should be looking down at the ball, right? That's when the ball moves, you move. Why are we listening? I mean, these are professionals. These are professionals. They get paid to do the job that they do. Just look down the line, look at the ball, you'll see it. Hey, when the ball moves, guess what? You move. Simple. It's simple. It sounds simple. It sounds simple to me. Maybe it don't sound simple to them. I don't know. But there you go. When the ball moves, you move. Okay. And then you keep going. And there you go. Uh, but I am excited to see what happens this point on. Like I said, we have Philthy next. Whew. This is going to be this is the game of the week. And really, I would say this is the game of the season. I kind of teased, hey, uh, in the description of the podcast tonight, do you believe that this is a must win for the Cowboys? This has kind of been the question that's been going around ever since Sunday. Is this a must win? And really, not even ever since after the Seahawks game last Thursday, is this a must win for the Cowboys? That answer, yes. This is absolutely a must win for the Cowboys. They've got to win this one. This is one that you got to say, you know what? If we don't win this, we got a problem. We absolutely have a problem and need to know how we get there. Yeah. So is this a must win? Yes. Because you need to see how you stack up against Philly. You will probably see them again. I wish it wasn't so early in the season. And I say early, but usually the Philly Cowboys game is at the end of the season. We have the commies at the end. So going in, to that game, you may not see the starters. You may not see the starters, or you might for half of the game. And Washington will come in and try to be spoiler. So they're going to start whoever they have, and they're going to treat it like their own playoff game. Yeah. So yeah, you absolutely should play your starters. You don't want them to get hurt, but it should be a good tune-up going into the playoffs. The Philadelphia game is going to be interesting in that, like I said, the last game that they played this season in Philadelphia, they had a chance to win. They didn't win. They did not win. We know that they didn't win, but they had a great chance and they showed more heart, I believe, that game than they have in any other game for a while. Okay, for a while. This was a game where you said, you know what? Okay, this is what it's all about. Philadelphia is not playing to the par or to the level that they played last year. A lot of that has to do with you have a new offensive coordinator, a new defensive coordinator, right? Because both of them were lost to different teams. They got head coaching opportunities, and good for them. D'Amico Ryans is doing a great job in Houston. He's got them, I think they're 7-5 or something like that. So, I mean, that's fantastic, right? So, yeah, they have different coordinators. Jalen Hurts doesn't look the same. I think the injury is actually nagging him, and he's not running like he usually does. So I think that's going to hamper him, which our defense should have a better advantage of getting to him. You got to get to Jalen Hurts. I think San Francisco laid out a great plan, though, great game plan for people to see what you need to do with Jalen Hurts. You have a spy on him, or you contain him. The other thing is making him roll to his left. Apparently, he doesn't like going to his left. So if he's going to his left, that's what you should be doing, right? Put him there. Put Parsons on that side, on the left side, well, actually on the right side, so that you can force him to the left, okay? Or put him on the other side, on the opposite side, so you can force him to the left. Armstrong has to play a big part. Tank has to play a big part. And the safeties. Listen, Deron Bland got picked on this past Thursday because everyone said, oh, this guy's special. And you know what? He is special. But now when they put the heat on you, you got to show up and you got to show out. We know what you are. We know what you can do. We know what you're capable of, but you got to show out. Right? You got to show up and show out. When you have someone like a DK Metcalf, or you have a receiver that's going to be on you like a Smith, right? That you're going to see this next weekend, you got to be ready. Because if not, they're going to continue to pick on you. And I'm sure they're going to do that this game. They're going to pick on him and they're going to throw right at him to see how good he really is. Now, he did get an interception this past weekend. I mean, the law of averages says he should have, as much as they threw to him or through the receiver to the receiver that he was guarding. Get a pick. No, it doesn't have to be a pick six. But hey, let's see how we can not just be aggressive, but be smart when we are aggressive. Because if not, you're going to have the same situation issue that you did prior in this Seattle game. I know he's better than that. The whole defense is 35 points from Seattle. Wow. And you don't have Walker, so you know what they're going to do. You know they have to pass the ball, which is what they did. 41 times in a game, you have Geno Smith, who almost brought them back. But, of course, he had to throw a pick because – and I'm not saying he's Geno Smith, but I'm just saying. But you see the rushing game. Look, the defensive line did what they were supposed to do when it came to the rushing game, right? Zach Carbonet, the guy that they had that were replacing Walker, 19 carries, 60 yards, average 3.2, but he scored. And yes, it was a kind of a gimme score. You know, it was a PI down there, and Geno also scored. But he had, 6 yards. But again, the PI caused these scores. Okay, so just got to do better. Be smart. Play smart. And just be better about it. Noah Fant, 3 receptions, 43 yards. I mean, they were balling, but again, they had to pass the ball. They knew they couldn't run, so they passed the ball, and that's exactly what they did. So now when you bring in Philthy and Jalen, we'll see if he can run. You're going to have to contain him. Once you contain him, being able to ensure that the 2 and the 3 receiver sets that Philthy is going to throw at you, you're probably going to have to play a nickel or some type of zone nickel in order to stop what they're doing. Okay. Yes, you want to keep Parsons rushing because that's always a good thing. But if he's constantly rushing, he's going to be going upfield past Jalen. I will put him as a spy, or really, I think he's just a great spy, right? And he can also cover the field in zone. So you can drop him back in zone as a zone spy right there in the middle for your curls and your inside slants, right? So if you do that, here you have an opportunity for your best defensive player. Yes, he likes to rush. Yes, he wants to get his numbers. But if he's watching Jalen and what he's doing, I'm sure he can figure out, hey, he's going to go over the middle, or, excuse me, if he tries to run out of that pocket, he's going to be there because Micah has the speed and he has all the other intangibles to get to Jalen, but he can't run past him. You cannot run past Jalen Hurts. You have to keep him in front, and that's what San Francisco did. So looking forward to the game. My prediction going into it, I think you're going to see a very close game, but Dallas is playing at home, and you know what? Hey, America's team will prevail. I'm saying that it's going to be 36-29. It's a weird score, but hey, that's what I'm saying. 36-29, Cowboys way. It'll come down to probably the last couple of plays. I don't see it being a blowout. It usually never is. So let's go Cowboys. Let's go get them. Hey, make sure that you like, subscribe, and share this podcast on BGSE Network. You know that we're going to have the boys from Philthy on Thursday. Two Birds, One Show. Should be fun. Big Game Sports Buzz should be coming on Thursday as well before them. So we'll talk sports. We'll have our top 5 list and, of course, our old hell no for the week. And on Mondays, we have Man Cave with ya boy. It's always good to see him. But we A Reed, we definitely going to be chopping it up pretty soon here as we kind of get towards the end of the year and the seasons, myself and Big Game. But thank you again for watching, tuning in. Make sure that you hit the chat. Love to chat back with you. I'm J-Stogs, the Buff Nerd, and America's team. Let's go. You know what it is.